So good morning, everyone. Welcome to our billing module training. My name is Leanne, and I'll be facilitating our session today. Today, I'll be providing you with an overview of the billing module, which is one of the three main financial management modules in Gate 3. So if you have any questions at any point, please do feel free to ask them. I'm here to support. So as previously mentioned, our primary focus today will be on the billing module. So far, we've gone through the costing module, cost management module rather, and the budget module. And today, after doing the billing module, we'll be able to describe how these three modules are interconnected in Gate 3 and how they support project financial processes. So without further ado, let's dive in. So quick little recap. When we reviewed the budget module, we spoke about linking budget lines to cost accounts. As a best practice, PMs, before linking budget lines to cost accounts, it is recommended that you import or add your budget lines and save them as is, followed by generating the first prime pay application and sharing it with the client to get their approval. Once the client has approved the prime pay application layout, it is then recommended for the PM to go into the budget module and link the cost accounts to the budget lines. So now diving into the billing module itself, the prime pay application layout is created by the cost accountant in Gate 3, which is a document that determines the breakdown of your billing to your owner. So as indicated by the term layout, the prime pay application layout is a template or shell for your monthly payment applications or invoices. You can have multiple layouts, as we've discussed before, for your project. You can have one for pursuit costs, for changes, and so forth. There's also the totaling line instructions feature, which is within the layout itself that allows budget lines to roll up and hide in the billing PDF. This is used to condense the amount of billing lines or budget lines that are shown on the owner's invoice by creating a totaling or summary line. Now, the project manager responsibilities are to review the prime pay application layout and confirm all necessary fields such as the retainage, which is the holdback, the taxes, the contact information for the architect and owner. I do want to let you know that you cannot create budget lines or anything in the budget module if the prime pay application layout is not first set up by the cost accountant within Gate 3. Now, once the layout has been reviewed, the prime contract pay application can then be created by the PM, which is the actual document or invoice prepared based on the layout to request payment that is sent to the owner each month. Now, this is the prime contract pay application process, which outlines the steps involved in the owner or client progress billing process in Gate 3. We start with step 1, which is creating a prime pay application layout. The cost accountant creates this prime contract pay application layout, which is the shell or template for the invoice. It is used to further roll up, outline, or categorize your budget when you select which budget or billing lines will appear on a given layout. This is also where the retainage, taxes, and billing contacts are configured. The following 6 steps, so steps 2 to 7, are completed by the project manager in Gate 3. So the second step is to manage committed costs, and the committed cost in the prime contract pay application determines the awarded value of the billing line. This is typically done on a monthly basis if there have been any issued contracts or changed subcodes by the project manager or site accountant. The third step is managing totaling instructions. So the totaling instructions on the prime contract pay application layout are used to organize your billing lines as defined by the owner or client. I do want to let you know that steps 2 and 3 are managed within the prime pay application layout, so that shell or template in Gate 3. And then the following is managed through the prime pay application. This will make more sense when I go through the demonstration, but just giving you a little heads up here. So the step 4 is to create prime pay application. So the prime contract pay application is used to create and prepare monthly progress billing, which is the payment request invoice to the client or owner. Then it's followed by step 5, which is previewing and generating the pay application. So once the prime contract pay application is complete, it is necessary to generate the pay application, so that actual invoice, which is sent to the client outside of Gate 3. Then our 6th step is to certify a pay application. So once the progress billing has been verified and signed off by the owner or client, the prime contract pay application can then be certified within Gate 3. Followed by the final step, which is to release retainage holdback percent. So this is done when the project progress comes to a point where that 10% retainage holdback can be released. As mentioned, we will be going through all these steps throughout our demonstration. So let's dive in. So let's look at the billing module in Gate 3. So this is our Gate 3 home screen that you will see when you're logged in. I do want to let you know that I'll be conducting our demonstration today in the training environment, which does closely replicate the live environment. So, you may have different widgets here, but you'll always have your left menu pane on the side over here, as well as the project search bar at the very top, as well as some features onto the top as well. So to ensure that you can access all the relevant modules on the left navy blue pane, you have to enter your project number in the top project search bar. For our purposes today, we'll be working with project 70019, which is the Glen Abbey Secondary School. And then to access the billing module, we will hover over financial management and then click on prime billing. Since the billing module is in Gate 3, it will open in a new tab as it is doing right now, and in the default prime pay application layouts view. So as you see here, there are 2 prime pay application layouts, one for monthly billing and one named miscellaneous billing, and both of these layouts have been created by costing. For our purposes, I am going to click on the monthly billing over here, and to open a layout, you can click on the blue hyperlink, monthly billing, or you can click on open in the actions column. Either or will open the layout. So let's click on here. And then once I'm in the layout, I'm going to click on edit to put it in edit mode. Anything with a green banner is editable when it's in edit mode, and anything with a blue banner is just viewable. As mentioned before, this prime pay application layout is created by the cost accountant. The project team does not create this. However, as the PM, you want to come into the layout and review everything to ensure that it is correct. So right now in the layout, we're in the summary section as highlighted by this light blue highlight. And when we're in this section, we want to confirm or review the description, the application type, the payment terms, which is typically net 45, but it's dependent on your contract. And then this field over here, prompt payment applies or pay application certified, we want to ensure that it is set to yes in order to certify an invoice that is generated from this layout once it has been reviewed and signed off by the client, which is completed during our 6th step of the pay app process that we just reviewed. The next field you want to see is the bill on date of month, which is typically the 25th. And the next thing you want to see in this section is the taxes to review that the correct tax type has been selected. You can click on the drop down to select a different tax type if an incorrect tax type was indicated here. So you can correct this at this stage. The next thing you want to review is the contact section, which you can navigate on the left-hand side. You can click it and it'll take you to the contact section. And here is where the owner's information resides. In the billing contact column, you only want to have one contact who is set as the billing contact. You cannot have more than one billing contact, essentially. So in other words, you can have multiple contacts in this section. However, only one of them can be set as a billing contact. So for instance, say if I wanted to add another contact in this section, I would click on add. I could use the filters to search and locate the individual that I want to add here. For our purposes, I'll just select Diana Electrical and then click on select. For the contact type, I can also indicate her as an owner. However, as mentioned earlier, since I already have a billing contact in this section, I will indicate no in the dropdown as I can only have one. Then I'll click apply and then click on save to save my changes. But for our purposes, I'll just cancel this out. And this is how you would go about adding a contact to this section, keeping in mind that we only have one contact set as the billing contact. Okay, now moving on to the retainage section. Over here, you want to review the retainage percentage, which is typically 10%, the retainage level, making sure that it is on the total and not line by line, and that the tax retainage release should be on collected or set to collected rather. I do want to let you know that all of these sections are updated by the cost accountant. So if you have any questions, please do feel free to reach out to them for any inquiries or further clarification. Now we're going to go to the pay application layout line section. Here is where all of your pay application layout lines reside. These layout lines are also the billing lines that were simultaneously created for this pay app layout when the respective budget lines were created and linked to this layout in the budget module. So I'm just going to switch over to our slides quickly to go over a visual that depicts the relationship between cost accounts, budget lines, and billing lines. So these cost accounts are what the cost accountants add to the project when the project is initially set up, and these cost accounts are accessible via the cost management module we reviewed earlier in Gate 3. As we have also reviewed earlier when going over the budget module, that when we create budget lines, it is recommended that the budget line number matches the cost account number that it will be linked to further demonstrate their pairing relationship, as we see in the budget lines column over here. So all of these numbers do replicate the cost accounts that they have been linked to. Just to keep a note that when we are doing the budget line numbers, the leading zero from the cost account numbers are typically dropped off. However, everything else remains the same. Also, recall earlier when we create budget lines, a billing line is automatically created for which you then have to select which pay application layout you want the billing line to be associated to, as we can have multiple layouts demonstrated by these yellow perforated lines over here. So for instance, these first three billing lines are associated to billing layout, which could hypothetically be your monthly billing layout. And this bottom one can be your permit layout, for instance. So this is really to show how the cost accounts, budget lines, and billing lines are all related to each other, or how they're related to each other rather. Now going back to our Gate 3, this pay application layout lines that we see here, these are all the budget and billing lines that have been associated to the monthly billing pay app layout that we're in right now. Every month prior to creating the client's invoice, you want to come into this section and click the topmost box here to select all the billing lines. And then you want to click on copy current to committed. This is required if you are billing for changes to ensure that the billing lines get updated with the most current costs that now can be billed to the client. This is also how you would manage the committed costs required for step 2 of the prime contract pay process. And then the next step is to manage total instructions or go into the section and review it. So recall that totaling instructions are automatically created when budget tiers are created. Totaling instructions are used to organize your billing lines as they appear on the client's invoice. Based on how your contract is set up with the client, there may be certain lines and their respective values that are not to be present on the actual invoice. Rather, they may be required to be hidden and rolled up into a total. And we can roll up and hide these lines in this totaling instructions section of the pay app layout. So to demonstrate this, let's click on add line. So as we see here, we need to indicate a starting line, as well as an ending line for the lines we want to be hidden and rolled up. We can also use the filter fields for either section to search and locate the lines we want as the starting line as well as the ending line. I also do want to note here that the lines that are appearing in this window do also appear in the chronological order that they would appear on the invoice. So it kind of makes it easier for you to select a group of billing lines that you want allocated to a totaling instruction. So for our starting line, let's pick this line, 32900 planting as our starting line. And for our ending line, let's select 107 100 exterior protection. Once you've indicated our starting and ending line, we can click apply. And this will create our totaling instructions line. So in the name for our total instructions, we will indicate this as exterior accessories. And then for the hide total lines, we want to make sure that we're selecting yes, especially because if we want these lines to be hidden and rolled up within a totaling instruction, if we do leave it as no, it will result in these lines within the totaling instruction to be present on the invoice and not rolled up or hidden. They will appear under the totaling instruction heading that you've created on the invoice if you were to select no. But since we want these two lines to be hidden, we're going to select yes, and then we're going to select apply. Okay, so this new totaling instruction has now been added and will hide the selected lines on the client's invoice. So once we have gone through all of these sections over here on the left-hand side, we are now able to click save and to save our changes that we have made. And now that we have reviewed the Prime Pay application layout that was created by the cost accountant, again, because this is created by them, as PMs, you come in here to review the summary, the contact, the retainage, the pay application layout lines, to copy current to committed, and then we review and add any totaling instructions that we need to. We are now able to proceed to creating the invoice. So let's click on this current view button to take us back to our previous view, which is the Prime Contract Pay Application Layout view. This button does function like a back button. Okay, so to create an invoice or Prime Pay application layout, or sorry, Prime Pay application, you have to be in the Prime Contract Pay Application Layout view. Before we create an invoice, in the actions column for the layout we just reviewed, I'm going to click on Show Details. And the reason I'm going to do this is so that we can review all the prior invoices that were created from this layout. An invoice could have a status of active, active modified, active change, or draft. And we want to review the status of prior invoices to see if there are any with the status of draft or active modified, as we won't be able to create a new invoice if there are any prior invoices present with these two statuses. We can either delete the prior invoices that have a status of draft or active modified, or use the ones with a draft status to create our new invoice. So first thing we want to do is in the status column, we can use the filter field to search if there are any invoices with a draft status. Perfect, there aren't any, so I'm going to clear filter. And the next thing we want to do is to see if there are any with an active modified. We can type in mod for modified and see if anything comes up. Okay, it doesn't. So I'm going to clear filter again. Since there are no prior invoices with a draft or active modified status, we can go ahead and create a new invoice by clicking on Create Prime Contract Pay Application in the Actions column for our monthly billing Prime Contract Pay Application layout. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And this will open the Prime Contract Pay Application in draft and edit modes when it's ready. And fields with asterisks are mandatory to save the document. Also, sections with the green banner are now editable. So when we're in this section, we want to amend the description to reflect our current billing. So we'll call it August progress billing. And the application date gets pulled from the layout and is set to the 25th of every month. So we will leave this as is. And over here are all the pay application lines where you would make changes to reflect current costs that are to be billed to the client. Most projects do track their expenses via an Excel sheet and then amend the pay app lines accordingly to reflect the changes. So you could consult that Excel file when updating the layout lines that need to be updated for this month's billing. So I'm going to use the horizontal bar and I'm going to locate these two columns, the complete to date percent as well as the complete to date. So we would make or reflect any changes in either of these columns, complete to date percent or complete to date. And the changes that we reflect in these columns for the respective lines are as a cumulative percentage or a cumulative dollar value in either of these columns for a given layout line as mentioned. For instance, say for scaffolding, if another $1,000 was spent this month, I would not put $1,000. Instead, I would enter $8,000 to encompass this month's charge, as we are required to enter cumulative values in these columns. And as we see here, once I click out, in this pay or to this pay app section, we see that $1,000 for this month is reflected here. Okay, so you would proceed to plug in your values under the completed to date column for the various pay app lines that resulted in a new charge for this month. And once you're done, you're going to hit save to save your changes. And then I'm just going to X this out. Okay, so now that we have updated our lines over here, we can go ahead and navigate over to the pay application section on the left-hand side to generate the actual invoice that will be sent to the client. So we will click on generate pay app to generate that pay app or invoice, which is our fifth step. Before I do that though, I just want to call out this button over here, generate pay app with backup. We do not want to select this as it will slow down the system. So we are going to always select generate pay app. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And when we click that button, it does take us back to our previous view. So we just need to click on pay applications to take us back to our view. And as we see here, it still says generating pay app is in progress. So we'll just refresh it. And then once it says open pay app, that means our invoice is now ready for us to view. And I do want to let you know that this invoice does not get sent out from Gate 3. You have to download it and send it to the client outside of Gate 3. So I'm going to click on Open Pay App, which will download a PDF of the invoice, and I'm going to open it for us to review. So before sending out the invoice to the owner, you want to review the invoice to ensure that everything is accurate and correct, such as the owner information and the amounts. So as I scroll down, we see here that the billing module does use the same budget tiers and budget lines to group, categorize, and organize the owner or client's invoice as we see here. So for instance, if we look at one general requirements, this is a budget tier with its grouped budget lines appearing underneath it. We also want to review the invoice to ensure that our changes got reflected. So for instance, for the scaffolding line, we see that the completion to date has been updated to 8,000 as we entered. And on this request is that additional $1,000 that the client is now being requested to pay. Also, if we see here, the exterior accessories totaling line we created is such that the planting and exterior protections lines are hidden and their values are rolled up into the total that we see here. So once you have reviewed the invoice and everything looks the way it needs to, you can then proceed to sending it outside of gate 3 to the client. Now, going back to our Prime Pay app tab, you also have the option to preview the invoice as well. So we can go ahead and click on Preview Pay app. It will download a watermarked version of the invoice. So this would not be sent to the client. This just gives you an opportunity or option to preview and verify the information on the invoice if you wish in this preview section. Another feature, if I go back to our Pay app tab, is the common PDF. So I'm going to click on it so we can open it and view it together. And this common PDF contains all of the billing lines that are present and is typically used for internal purposes. So I want to bring your attention to these grayed out lines over here. So when they're grayed out on this view or this PDF, it indicates that they will not appear on the invoice that gets sent to the owner based on the totaling instructions in the pay app layout. So recall earlier we created that exterior accessories totaling line in which planting and exterior protections will be hidden. So as we see here, they're grayed out and it will be hidden, and their totals will be rolled up into this exterior accessories totaling line that we created. So if I navigate back to the owner's invoice, which I will right now, we only see the exterior accessories line with both of the planting lines and exterior lines hidden and their values rolled up into this sum over here. So once the invoice has been sent and verified by the owner or client, it can be marked as certified within the Gate 3 system. Now, recall earlier, to be able to certify an invoice, if I go back to the layout, which is here, right here, or I can go to the layout by going back to the current view and then just opening the layout over here. If I navigate to the summary section, this prompt payment applies or pay application certified must be set to yes in order for me to then certify a pay app that is generated from this layout. So if I go to my pay app that we just created, August Progress Billing, if I refresh this, it's right here. So if I go now to the summary section and we have received the invoice back from our client, they have signed and certified it, we can, they have signed and verified it, we can go ahead and certify it in Gate 3. We will put this in edit mode and we will navigate back to the summary section. And in the proper invoice date or certification date, we will enter the date that the client verified or signed off on the invoice that we sent to them. So for our purposes, we can select today's date, or we can just, let's select today's date. And then for the approved by owner or certified, we will indicate yes, because it has been certified by them, or approved rather by them. And then we will navigate over to the attachment section, which is right here, to attach the signed invoice from the owner and any other supporting documentations. We would attach that here. And then finally, we will navigate back to summary to verify that our date was saved. And as we see here, the due date gets updated as well. And then we'll click on save to save our changes. Okay, so we have now certified this pay application, which was our 6th step of the process. The last step is to release retainage holdback percentage, and retainage is typically 10% of the contract value, which is withheld from each payment to protect all parties. Retainage is released once the project progress comes to a point where that 10% retainage holdback can be released. So to complete this, you need to be within the Prime contract pay application, and you will then put it in edit mode. and navigate over to the Retainage section over here. When you're in the Retainage section, you're going to scroll all the way to the end, and under the Actions column, you're going to hit Edit. And then you're going to look for the Retainage Released section, which is right here. In the To Date column, we're going to enter our value of 2000, which is already there for us. And then we are going to hit Save. Actually, before we hit Save, we're going to hit Apply, and then we're going to hit Save. So that is how you would update this section when it comes to releasing that retainage holdback percentage. So if you ever need a refresher or clarification on any of the steps we've completed today for the billing module, you can always visit our help pages. As we see, we have this help section of the Gate 3 screen on the top right hand corner. If we click on help, it will take us to our help pages in Confluence for Gate 3. In the menu pane on the left hand side, we can use the search field or search bar to search anything that we would like. But as we went through today, we can scroll down and also search and locate what we're looking for. So we spent our time today on payment applications and billing. So if you select it, it does give you step-by-step instructions on how to access the billing module and so forth. As we went through today as well, if you're curious, we managed Prime Pay application committed costs, managing total instructions, creating a Prime Pay application, previewing and generating a pay application, certifying a pay application, and releasing the retainage holdback. So if you click on any of this, it gives you step-by-step instructions on how to complete this in the system as well. So this concludes our review of the billing module in Gate 3. Thank you very much for your time and participation. As always, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and enjoy the rest of your day.